You are 10 years old.
Yeah, 29.
Can we have order, please, so we can move? We will now do the 87th district, and the reason we are separating them is because there is more than one candidate here for the 87th district. After we conclude with 3 of these candidates, we will then call on the remainder of the House candidates. By the way, all the candidates, either Democratic or Republican, were invited to attend today. Some chose not to do so, so we went just with the candidates who agreed to be here. For these candidates, a reminder that there will be 2 questions for you, and you will have 2 minutes to answer those questions, and also a reminder that if you mention one of your opponents in the questioning, then that opponent has 30 seconds to respond to what was said. The order that I have here from the coin toss is Heather MacDonald, Nicole Miller, and Sean Quinlan. So Heather, we're going to start with you on the first question. As a member of the Pennsylvania legislature, how would you balance, yes, 2-minute introductions for each of the candidates.
Hello. Excellent. Hi, guys. Everyone keeps telling me that this will be fine. Don't worry, just breathe. But I gotta tell you, the courage comes and goes. It's touch and go at this point. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you to Nicole. Thank you to Sean. I'm thrilled to be in Camp Hill. I live in Camp Hill. I'm a proud resident. Before I lived in Camp Hill, I used to park my car in all the different sections and walk my dog, so I could see where I wanted to live someday. And now that I actually live here, it's like a dream come true. So my story starts when I was 16. I became pregnant, and I had my son at 17. And so as you can imagine, that has been a transformative experience for me. It has informed every decision I've made in my life, including right here, right now. I think you need to have leaders that look like you. And over the last year, I've participated in politics in a way that I think a lot of us do. I have gone issue by issue, issues that touch me, issues that have affected me in the past and in the present. And I've joined clubs of issues that's clubs that support issues that I also support. And every time that I would get an email from them or I would look at their website, I was always looking for someone that looked like me, and I never saw anyone. And so it came to me very slowly that maybe I should run. Maybe I am a voter. I know what you guys look like. I am one of you, so why don't I get up here and give it a try? So much harder than I look. So now that I'm up here, there's issues I care about, but I really just like the idea of being a representative. Right now we have a representative that I don't really think represents all of us. The way that the districts have been drawn, I think a lot of us are frustrated with the way that things never actually play out in a way that affects our day-to-day life. So I am nervous, but I am thrilled and very, very thankful to be here. Thank you.
Nicole?
Hi everybody, thanks for having us today and for putting all the work that comes with putting all of this together. I really appreciate you taking time to come out. My name is Nicole Miller, and I am so excited to be a candidate here in the 87th district. And I think today, we can go through these questions, and we will go through these questions and answer them, and we can get the information we need to answer these questions. But really, what would make us good representatives, I think, also lies inside of us. Who are we? Who are we as people? And how our life experiences have transformed our lives and make us who we are. Who am I and what I'll bring to the General Assembly if you will have me as your public servant here. I bring the fact that I am a woman that grew up in a time and still live in a time where women are told that they're not worth as much as men, right? And I don't want my daughter to grow up and think that, ever. And I want to change that in the future, right away, and I do that in my house all the time, actually. I bring the view of a single mom, and also a middle-class stay-at-home mom. I'm a mom that fought for her son through over a decade of mental illness, and also kept 2 babies going, and loved and fed and worked full-time and was still a wife. I've navigated myself through the public education system and the mental health system and insurance companies. I'm the daughter of a small business owner, and I'm the daughter of a daughter of a law enforcement officer. I also have a son who was of mixed race. I'm a sister that would lay on my sister's legs when she would sleep after she got injured in Iraq as a U.S. Marine, because she would jump so bad when she slept that it would bring her comfort to have me there with my head resting on her legs. I'm a person that saw all the military members and how everybody pulled together with families when I spent time at Brook Army Medical Center taking care of my sister, and how everybody pulled together and didn't focus on an us versus them climate. I'm a person that fights for the LGBT community because I love so many people in the LGBT community. I'm a person that when a superintendent asks me, Mrs. Miller, what else do you want? I'm not here to fight for my kids, sir. I'm here to fight for all the rest of them that don't have anyone fighting here for them. So I'm a person that will never give up and never leave another person behind. So my name is Nicole Miller. Thank you for being here and listening to this.
Hi everybody, I'm Sean Quinlan. I live about 6 blocks that way. I was on the board of the Frederickson Library about 2 blocks that way. And I was on the the Lion Foundation here for the school district. I'll be 47 years old this September. I have 2 children, 14 and 7. I got into politics because of gun violence. And up to about 3 weeks ago, I would have said that that was the thing that caused me the greatest anxiety in my life. But that's no longer the case. I have a great deal of anxiety for this coronavirus COVID-19 thing that seems to be hanging over all of us in our future. And my immunocompromised father, who had a stroke 2 years ago. Anytime somebody says that they have somebody who's a cancer patient or asthma or is going to require some kind of breathing help, this is all what keeps me up now, is what the wall of patient care is going to look like relative to ICU bed space. Are we prepared for this? And I think it's time, if nothing else, that we shine the light back on science and scientists. And don't we all kind of wish that we could hear from Dr. Fiegelding, who was running for Congress in 2018. Wouldn't that be fabulous if he was our representative now? What a brilliant man, epidemiologist, Harvard, Johns Hopkins. These are our new guideposts, these people, these brilliant academicians slash experts. We need experts again. In any event, that's me. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
There will be 2 questions for the candidates. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions. We will start with Nicole on the first question, and then go to Sean, and then to Heather. First question. As a member of the Pennsylvania legislature, how would you balance the critical importance of meeting Pennsylvania's goal for carbon reduction, 26% by 2025 and 80% by 2050, as measured against 2005 levels, with the creation of good-paying jobs that are claimed by the energy sector? So Nicole, you will go first.
That's no big deal, Joe. That's not a problem. It'll be fine. Don't worry. We have to do something immediately. I would invest in green spaces that will counteract the carbon emissions that are in our air. I would, expand subsidies and tax credits for those purchasing electric vehicles, and also for industries creating electric vehicles. I would love to see nothing better than clean energy powered public transportation, but also in our school districts with our school buses. I would, I do back the governor in joining the regional greenhouse gas incentive, because we're the only ones in Northeast Pennsylvania that aren't a partner of that. So, I mean, these are some of the steps I would take to counteract that. And also, just continuously researching what we can do as far as building industries for cleaner energy, and also a just transition from fossil fuel workers to the clean industry business.
Sean?
So Mr. Boscia spoke earlier about the Senate bill. There's a House Bill 1195 that corresponds with that. And that's, you know, when we look for solutions, we look for a way forward, and we don't necessarily have to make it up on our own. You know, we can look to our peer states like Virginia. You know, Virginia flipped the state house, they flipped the state senate, and now they're passing gun laws. And they're also passing environmental laws. They are passing bills that promise to go 100% renewable by 2050. So that is the way forward for us, is to pass bills that will bring us to 100% renewable by 2050. There are some who would say that's too long and that's too slow. I'm one of them, but at least there's a blueprint there for us to adopt, you know, a goal for us to shoot for, and I would be one of those that would shoot for that goal. Thank you.
Lord?
I agree with Sean on a specific point. I am one for like all or nothing. I think a lot of people in my generation are like, okay, we're done, let's go, it's time to do it now. But personally, I also value pragmatism and going at a sustainable pace, like Sean is saying. Knocking on doors, talking to almost 400 people, they're all talking about this. They're all talking about how do we get there? How do we even afford to get there? And I feel like that's the wrong way to frame the question. The question is, how do we afford to stay where we are? We're already paying for climate change right now. PennDOT has to pay for infrastructure because of heavy rains. There's extended season for ticks. Pennsylvania has the highest rate of Lyme disease. And that's all because of the heat. More rain, crop failure, all of that is happening right now, and we're paying for it. I say that we pass on the cost onto the people creating the problem. I know that we heard people before talking about the severance tax. There's no reason we can't do that. There's a real cost to the business of fracking, fossil fuels, and the petrochemical industry. They should be footing that bill, not us.
Okay, the next question, and I believe we will begin with Sean on the next question, is what are your plans for improving basic education in this state? Should the rules for charter schools be changed?
Yes.
Okay, next question.
I'm not a fan or friend of the charter school system, and I think that's where you'll find the greatest point of departure for myself and Mr. Rothman. I would hope my friends here would feel the same way, that charter schools are a backdoor attack, a drain on our public school budgets to siphon away what's needed in the school to private contractors to make a buck. Our schools are under attack as it is, every single one of them. This is nothing short of sabotage for our local tax base, our local professionals who are trying to do their best with limited resources, and this constricts those resources even further. I would really tighten up on charter schools and suggest that this is going to reach a point where we're going to find that we have a First Amendment issue again, because what happened, the reason that a lot of this arises where it does is because you have for-profit schools, which commonly, historically, were religious schools. So now we're taking public dollars and giving them to a religious organization, which you can't do, it's unconstitutional. So we're gonna come here again to a point where we're gonna come up against some fiscal constraints, some constitutional constraints? And the short answer is yes. I'm about had it with charter schools. My mom's a teacher first grade teacher for 40 years. This is the step in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned with charter schools.
We'll go to Heather next.
I agree with everything you just said. I'm not a fan of charter schools. Again, there's no consequences for having low performance. They are publicly funded, but privately run. It's not really the best combo ever. We have to have realistic standards for all education, and right now, charter schools are failing in every metric possible. I know that we talked about it again with the last candidates, but I feel like education begins and ends with teachers. I've been a voter way longer than I've been a candidate up here, and I'm baffled every year whenever people have that party line of teachers, 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 and every year I hear it over and over, and I'm like, well, I thought we already talked about that. Weren't we going to fix that? I thought that was the solution. But there's no things actually in place to make that a priority. Governor Wolf has legislation right now where he would like to raise the minimum for teachers. That's really important. Like George Scott said earlier, teaching certificates in the last 6 years have been down by 74%. It's crisis level at this point. And it's a no-brainer. Teachers are the beginning, they're the ending, period.
We need so much help in the education system. What I would do to improve basic education in the state, I don't agree with charter schools. I do agree that there are kids that are in our public schools that cannot thrive in these schools. They're way too big for them. They aren't getting what they're needed, and they may have to find a different educational facility to go to, or that would better serve their needs. However, I do feel if public education is properly funded, we can most absolutely create that space outside of our main school building. We need to work on our full-day kindergarten program, our pre-K program. That's the beginning. That's the start. That's how we stop so many issues that are happening with our children and why they're struggling so much. We need to make sure we give districts what they need as far as fair funding and adequately funded budgets. We need to start teaching to the whole child because there are so many things being missed, and we need trauma-informed schools. We need to increase mental health supports in our schools and in our community, and invest in the smaller classrooms, and invest in our educators as far as about tuition reimbursement incentives. So when they're out of school, they finish, they come and teach, they're not struggling to keep up with the needs of the children, and also pay these incredible student loans back. There's so much to fit in 30 seconds, I'm sorry. I am very passionate about the public school system, and I know they can do great things. And if we invest in these areas now, especially mental health, we'll cut down on the juvenile justice system rates with 70% of those kids suffering or living with a mental health impairment that is undiagnosed. And these will have great rewards for our communities in the future.
Okay, we will now go to the questions from the audience, and I believe we will go back to Heather to start.
It's 1 minute.
1 minute, a reminder to each of the candidates, 1 minute. What is your position on gerrymandering, and do you support citizen commissions?
Of course, yes. Right now, again, sometimes I think more like a voter than a candidate. It makes no sense to put that kind of power in the place where there's such an obvious bias. I think intellectually we all know about redistricting, and we all know that's really important, but honestly this might be the most crucial issue that we're facing right now. That's why we're here, that's why we're talking about flipping a district, that's why we're talking about pushing the progress forward. I think often as a voter, you're just not quite sure of what's happening behind the scenes. And having an independent commission is going to take a lot of that mistrust of government out of the equation. We want our commission to be diverse. We want it to be representative of the people where they are going to be helping us redistrict. We want it to be thorough, and we also want public opinion. It's an important part of the process that it be transparent and also foster a feeling of profound understanding between voters and government.
Okay, Nicole?
I think the fact that gerrymandering even happened or happens is absolutely absurd. We haven't paid attention to it, or I haven't paid attention to it except in the last 4 years, maybe 5 years. I absolutely support commissions to come in and take part in that process, drawing maps. I think everybody needs a seat at that table, actually, to make sure that we're holding everyone accountable, to make sure we have districts that represent us and aren't to control us.
Yes, I stand with Fair Districts PA, and I think if any of you haven't heard of Fair Districts PA, it's worthwhile to type that into Google and find out who they are and what they do, and the tens of thousands of people that man our polling stations every election day from both parties, and put in tens of thousands of hours spreading the word, spreading the message about what gerrymandering is, how it affects us, breaking down cracking and packing an electorate so you get people who are rich enough to pick their district and functionally buy it. It's not a unique Pennsylvania thing, but it's been a particular scourge here, and I'm anxious to see it end. Thank you.
Okay. For our final question, we will begin with Nicole on this question. General one. What are the 3 most important issues facing the district?
I think the 3 most important issues facing the district, we have education, we have healthcare, and environmental protections, and climate change. Those are the biggest things, our infrastructure.
Let's go on to Sean.
Yeah, I would have parroted those 3 points. What a difference a few weeks makes. I no longer believe that those are the 3 biggest issues that we are facing. I believe our biggest issue facing us now is how we're going to navigate these waters of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. This is not something that we are confronting strongly enough as a group. The thing that's been happening here, denigrating the integrity of all of our institutions, has denigrated the integrity of who we listen to and who we trust. And I think we need to be listening to our healthcare professionals who are saying, this is not going to be anything like anything we have ever experienced in almost 4 or 5 generations. And it is the biggest issue confronting all of us right now, which is not a political soundbite. This isn't a way to win an election. But if you're asking me the honest question, what are the 3 biggest things? It's bed space, it's vaccines, and it's how do we take care of each other as we staring down the barrel of this issue.
Great answers. I would say the first thing is the environment. I think that sometimes becomes just buzzwords, Green New Deal, fracking, taxes, but from that, a lot of other things are born. So climate change cannot be ignored. It cannot be put on the back burner. It is here, it is now, it's ours. The second thing I would talk about would be guns. When Sean was a candidate in 2018, I remember watching him give interviews, and he would say flat out, I don't want my kid to be shot in school. And it was shocking, and I appreciated how honest it was, but the absurdity of that statement is so aggravating to parents and people and citizens that we don't feel like we can be safe anywhere we go. And thirdly, I would talk about voting. I know that it's super relevant to all the people in this room, but if we don't make it super accessible for the ordinary person to get involved, to actually show up, we're never going to see any change. We're going to have the same people, same legislature. It's all going to be a homogenous mix, or homogenous type of person in there. We need to inject color and different life experiences.
Okay, that concludes the questions for this panel. Thank you for your answers. I thought they were very excellent. Please join with me in